Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one who's been hustling nonstop, juggling a million things and feeling like you're running on fumes. I see you. I've been you. And honestly, I'm so glad you're here, because today we're talking about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention, but is absolutely life-changing. How to avoid burnout. Now, I know what you're thinking. Burnout? That's just part of life, right? You work hard, you get tired, you push through. That's how it goes. But here's the thing. Burnout isn't just feeling tired. It's not something you can fix with a good night's sleep or a weekend off. Burnout is like a slow leak in your energy tank. It creeps up on you, and before you know it, you're running on empty, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And let me tell you, I've been there. I've had those days where I felt like I was dragging myself through quicksand, where even the simplest tasks felt impossible. I've had moments where I questioned everything. My work, my relationships, even my purpose. And if you're feeling any of that right now, I want you to know two things. First, you're not alone. And second, it doesn't have to be this way. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the most powerful, practical, and honestly, life-saving strategies I've learned to avoid burnout. These aren't just random tips. They're things I've tested, things that have worked for me now, and things that have helped so many people I care about. So grab a cup of coffee, tea, or whatever makes you feel cozy, and let's dive in. Okay, let's start by getting real about what burnout actually is. Because here's the thing, a lot of us don't even realize we're burning out until it's too late. Burnout isn't just about being tired. It's a state of chronic stress that leaves you feeling drained, detached, and downright defeated. It's like your brain and body are screaming, "Hey, we can't keep going like this." And the scary part? Burnout doesn't just affect your work. It spills over into every area of your life, your relationships, your health, your happiness. It's like a dark cloud that follows you everywhere. But here's the good news. Burnout is preventable. And the first step to avoiding it is understanding what causes it. So, what causes burnout? Well, it's usually a combination of things. Maybe you're taking on too much at work, saying yes to everything, and never giving yourself a break. Maybe you're in a job or a situation that doesn't align with your values or passions, and it's slowly sucking the life out of you. Or maybe you're just not taking care of yourself, skipping meals, sacrificing sleep, and ignoring your own needs. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. But here's the thing. Avoiding burnout isn't about doing less. It's about doing things differently. It's about creating a life that feels sustainable, fulfilling, and aligned with who you are. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Let's start with something simple, but incredibly powerful. Boundaries. I know. Boundaries can feel uncomfortable. They can feel like you're being selfish or letting people down. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about protecting your energy so you can show up as your best self. Think about it like this. Your energy is like a bank account. Every time you say yes to something you don't really want to do, every time you overcommit or ignore your own needs, you're making a withdrawal. And if you keep making withdrawals without depositing anything back, eventually you're going to go into the red. That's burnout. So, how do you set boundaries? Start small. Maybe it's saying no to that extra project at work. Maybe it's carving out an hour each evening to unwind and do something you love. Maybe it's simply giving yourself permission to rest without feeling guilty. Whatever it is, start where you are. And remember, boundaries aren't about being perfect. They're about being intentional. Now let's talk about something that's equally important but often overlooked: self-care. And no, I'm not just talking about bubble baths and face masks, although those are great too. Self-care is about taking care of your whole self, your mind, your body, and your spirit. For me, self-care starts with the basics: eating well, moving my body, and getting enough sleep. I know, it sounds so simple. But when life gets busy, these are often the first things to go. And that's when burnout starts to creep in. So here's my challenge to you. This week, pick one area of self-care to focus on. Maybe it's meal prepping so you have healthy food ready to go. Maybe it's going for a walk every day, even if it's just around the block. Or maybe it's setting a bedtime alarm to remind yourself to wind down and get some rest. Whatever it is, make it a priority, because here's the thing. You can't pour from an empty cup. Another game changer for avoiding burnout? Mindfulness. Now, I know mindfulness can sound a little woo-woo, but hear me out. Mindfulness is simply about being present, about tuning into what's happening right now, instead of getting caught up in the past or worrying about the future. And here's why it's so powerful. When you're mindful, you're able to notice when you're starting to feel overwhelmed or stressed. You're able to catch those early warning signs of burnout and take action before it's too late. So, how do you practice mindfulness? It can be as simple as taking a few deep breaths before you start your day, or pausing to really savor your morning coffee. It can be journaling for 5 minutes before bed, or just taking a moment to check in with yourself throughout the day. The key is to make it a habit, something you do regularly, not just when you're already feeling burnt out. One of my favorite mindfulness practices is gratitude journaling. Every night, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. It's such a simple practice, but it's honestly changed my life. Because here's the thing. When you're focused on what's going right, it's harder to get caught up in what's going wrong. And that's so important when it comes to avoiding burnout. Because burnout isn't just about stress, it's about losing sight of the joy and meaning in your life. It's about feeling like you're on a treadmill, going through the motions without really living. So, if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, try this. Take a few minutes each day to write down what you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be big things. It can be as simple as a good cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or a beautiful sunset. The act of focusing on the positive can shift your entire perspective and help you feel more grounded and connected. Okay, let's talk about something that might surprise you. The importance of connection. Because here's the thing. Burnout isn't just about what you're doing. It's also about how you're feeling. And one of the biggest contributors to burnout is feeling isolated or disconnected. We're wired for connection. We need to feel seen, heard, and supported. And when we don't have that, it's easy to feel like we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. So, here's my advice. Make time for the people who matter to you. Call a friend, schedule a coffee date, or just send a text to let someone know you're thinking of them. And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Remember, you don't have to do everything on your own. And finally, let's talk about purpose. Because here's the truth. Burnout isn't just about being busy. It's about feeling like what you're doing doesn't matter. It's about losing sight of why you're doing it in the first place. So take a moment to ask yourself, what's your why? What drives you? What gives your life meaning? And are you living in alignment with that? If the answer is no, that's okay. It's never too late to make a change. Maybe it's shifting your focus at work, pursuing a passion project, or simply finding small ways to bring more joy into your daily life. Whatever it is, make it a priority. Because when you're connected to your purpose, it's so much easier to stay motivated and resilient, even when things get tough. So, there you have it, my best advice for avoiding burnout. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. It's about taking small, consistent steps to protect your energy, nurture your well-being, and stay connected to what matters most. And if you're feeling burnt out right now, I want you to know this. It's not too late to turn things around. You deserve to feel energized, fulfilled, and alive. And you have the power to create that for yourself. So take a deep breath, be kind to yourself, and start where you are. You've got this. All right, let's keep this conversation going because honestly, there's so much more I want to share with you about avoiding burnout. We've already touched on boundaries, self-care, mindfulness, connection, and purpose. But let's dive deeper. Let's talk about how to actually live these things. Not just know them in theory. Because, let's be real, knowing what to do and actually doing it are two very different things. I'll never forget this one time when I was completely burnt out. I was working late every night, saying yes to everything and trying to be everything to everyone. And one day I just broke. I remember sitting on my kitchen floor crying over a burnt piece of toast. That was my wake-up call. I realized I couldn't keep going like that. I had to make a change. So let's talk about how you can make those changes too. Let's start with boundaries again because honestly, they're the foundation of everything. Boundaries. I know. It's such a buzzword these days. But here's the thing. Boundaries aren't just about saying no. They're about creating space for the things that truly matter. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I had this habit of checking my work email right before bed. I told myself it was just quickly checking in. But really, it was my way of feeling in control. Spoiler alert, it wasn't helping. Instead, it was keeping me wired, stressed, and unable to fully relax. So, I set a boundary: no work emails after 8 p.m. Period. At first it felt weird. I kept thinking, what if something urgent comes up? What if I miss something important? But you know what? The world didn't end. In fact, I started sleeping better, waking up more refreshed, and actually feeling present in my evenings. The point is, boundaries don't have to be dramatic or confrontational. They can be small, simple shifts that make a big difference. Maybe it's turning off notifications during dinner. Maybe it's blocking off an hour in your calendar for lunch. Maybe it's telling your family, hey, I need 30 minutes to myself when I get home. Whatever it is, start small and build from there. Now let's talk about self-care again, because I feel like this one gets misunderstood a lot. Self-care isn't selfish. It's not indulgent. It's necessary. It's like putting on your oxygen mask before helping someone else. You can't pour from an empty cup, remember? But here's the thing. Self-care doesn't have to be Instagram-worthy. It doesn't have to be a spa day or a fancy retreat. It can be as simple as drinking enough water, taking a walk outside, or giving yourself permission to take a nap. I'll never forget this one time when I was feeling completely overwhelmed. I had a million things to do, and I was running on caffeine and adrenaline. And then, my best friend called me. She could tell I was stressed, and she said, "Go take a shower. Right now." I laughed at first, but she was serious. "Just go take a shower, you'll feel better." And you know what? She was right. That shower was like a reset button for my brain. It wasn't about getting clean. It was about taking a moment to pause, to breathe, to just be. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, try this. Take a shower. Or go for a walk. Or sit by a window and just stare at the sky for 5 minutes. It's not about fixing everything all at once. It's about giving yourself a moment of peace in the chaos. Speaking of peace, let's talk more about mindfulness. I know, it can sound a little intimidating. Like, do I have to sit cross-legged and chant Om for hours? Nope, not at all. Mindfulness is just about being present. Here's a simple way to start. The next time you're eating, really taste your food. Notice the textures, the flavors, the smells. Or the next time you're walking, really feel your feet hitting the ground. Notice the sounds around you, the way the air feels on your skin. It's about tuning into the present moment instead of letting your mind race ahead to all the things you have to do. And here's the magic of it. When you're present, you're not worrying about the future or regretting the past. You're just here. And that's where peace lives. Now let's talk about gratitude again, because I can't stress enough how powerful it is. Gratitude is like a flashlight in the dark. It helps you see the good, even when things feel hard. Here's a little exercise I love. Every night, write down 3 things that went well that day. They don't have to be big things. Maybe you had a really good cup of coffee. Maybe you made someone smile. Maybe you finally tackled that one annoying task you've been avoiding. The act of writing it down helps you focus on the positive. And over time, it rewires your brain to notice the good more often. And when you're focused on the good, it's harder to feel burnt out. And finally, let's talk about connection again, because honestly, it's everything. We're not meant to do life alone. We're meant to share it, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. So make time for the people who matter to you. Call a friend, hug your partner, or just sit with your pet and soak up their love. And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Remember, you don't have to do everything on your own. So, there you have it. More tools, more strategies, and more love to help you avoid burnout. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about taking small, consistent steps to protect your energy, nurture your well-being, and stay connected to what matters most. And if you're feeling burnt out right now, I want you to know this. It's not too late to turn things around. You deserve to feel energized, fulfilled, and alive. And you have the power to create that for yourself. So take a deep breath. Be kind to yourself and start where you are. You've got this.